So the terminal, if you're not familiar with it, it's available in the applications utilities folder. Actually, they kind of hide it, so it's, let's see here, it's in the utilities terminal application. So it's not really a program per se, it's more of a utility, which is why it's put in the utility folder. Essentially, the terminal is really just another way of navigating the drives and the folders and the files in OSX, just like the Finder is. So when you have a Finder window, you can see what's on a particular drive. You can navigate inside that drive and go into folders and see different files and things that are in there. You can do the same thing in the terminal, and as long as you keep in mind what you're doing, it should be fairly intuitive how you navigate and organize and process files. So without going into a completely long, detailed list of the various commands, we're just going to look at a couple of them to show how to navigate and process some files. So as an example, this morning I had an email come in where a professor was looking for a particular video file that he wasn't sure why it hadn't appeared in the class. This is for the Electrical Engineering 333 course, which is quite a large class, and it has lots and lots of videos in it. And Lee has been producing this over a course of about 3 different years. So trying to figure out whether his particular video he was looking for had been shot, edited, rendered, and uploaded to Wistia was a bit of a challenge. So that's where the terminal is going to help us figure that out. So on this case, we've got the exports folder that contains exports for various sessions, summer, fall, spring sessions over a period of several years, beginning, it looks like the spring of 2017 up through the current year of 2019 summer. So figuring out where his video might be in any one of these particular folders was a bit of a daunting task. So I believe the terminal is going to be helpful to help us figure that out. This folder is the exports folder of the G-RAID 4 terabyte hard drive. And there it is. And inside there we have the several different folders. Nothing fancy there. So if we wanted to look at this same folder using the terminal instead of the Finder, what we simply have to do is navigate to the particular drive and open up the folder, or in terminal language would be change directory, and then view the directory that we're looking at. So let's have a look and see how that works. So right now I'm in the terminal, which again you just access from the utilities folder. I have changed the default colors on mine to be dark with light text. There's a whole variety of different ways you can look at this, and I think the default is completely opposite of this. 6.1 half does the other. They all do the same thing regardless of how they look, for the most part. So let's just figure out where I'm at. So in terminal language, again, it's referred to as directory. So I want to see the path of the current directory, or the path of the working directory. So I would simply type a command that says path of working directory and hit return, and it shows me that I am on the users folder, and then this particular user is called Studio 233. And I can just say, show me what is in that folder. So I can say list that, the contents of the folder that I'm in, or the directory that I'm in. So that's just simply a list command. And it shows me all the other folders that are in there. Okay, so we've listed what's in the folder that I'm in, the directory that I'm in, but if I want to move to another directory, I need to change directories. So I need to go into one of the particular directories. The desktop here, there is a directory just like every other folder in Unix. So it's listed here as desktop. So if I want to see using the terminal all these files that are on my desktop, I simply need to change the directory from where I'm at to navigate one layer down into that directory. So I will type the Unix command change directory, and I will say desktop. And I can type this all out, or if I just type a first couple of letters, DE, and hit the tab key, Unix is smart enough to figure out where I want to go. And now I hit return, and I'm now in that directory, and it shows me on this particular terminal, it shows me that I'm on the directory, but again, I can always use the path of the working directory command to see where I'm at. Now if I want to list the contents of that directory, if I want to see the contents, I just type ls again to list them. And those are all the same files listed here that we see that are listed on my desktop. Of course, that's not what I want to do. I want to be on this volume, the RAID volume, and I want to start working with these files here. So drives in Unix are referred to as volumes. So I need to change directory to the volume, and I know the volume, the drive is called GRAID. So I'll just type a capital G, and I don't have any other drives that start with the letter G, so I can probably safely hit the tab key and it finishes for me where I want to be. And now I can list the contents, so let's just that's the path of the working directory, that's where I'm at. So I want to list the contents of that, and it shows me all of the folders, including that exports, whereas it's alphabetical, including the exports folder, which is the same as that one. So if I back up here, GRAID, all of these files and folders are going to be the same as this list here. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to change directory using my window by just double clicking on exports. And here I'm going to change directory by just typing exports. EX, hit the tab key, and it finishes for me. And now I want to see what's in there. And that list of names is exactly the same as this list of names. So that's some real basic terminal navigation and file viewing that we're going to use to do the sophisticated processing of getting a list of the files that Lee has created for his EEE 333 course. And all of those somewhere are in these various renders. We don't know where they're at, but we're going to find them. So the nice thing I can do is I can say list, and if I want to see more, instead of just a list of folders, I can actually want to see a more detailed list of information that might show me the files, the folder size, the dates, that sort of thing. Every Unix command has, well, not everyone, most of them have some options that you can use to give you other types of outputs and processing. And so, for example, the list has a command for long, so if I just type the option rather, it has an option for seeing the long view. So if I just put the dash mark, all options start with the dash mark, and the long view, as you might have guessed, starts with the letter L. And now I just hit return, and it's going to show me the long view, which will look more like how this is laid out, where I'm going to have the files, the dates, the sizes, that sort of stuff. I've got a lot of it turned off in the Finder, so it doesn't really show up very good. Let's just see how it looks like here. There you go. It's showing me directories. It's showing me the user and the groups. We don't have to go into all this detail, the dates it was created, and there's those same folder names that we see listed here. Let's move this over a little bit. This is going to be pretty important as we move into doing some basic processing. We're going to stack up a couple of options, and it'll give us a very clean view of what we want to see here. Or not clean, but thorough view would be a better way to describe that. So instead of just seeing a list of folders, I want to see a list of the folders as well as a list of what's contained inside of each folder. Kind of like just opening up all these right here. That's kind of annoying, doesn't really help, not very useful inside of a window, and it's barely useful inside the terminal, but let's see what that might look like. So if I say list, and I start with an option, and we want to do the long view, and there's another option called Command R, and that is for recursive. So I want to see a list of the folders. I want you to show them to me in the long view, and then I want you to show me what's inside of each one as you scroll by. And there they are. So there's every folder or every file contained inside of every folder, and you can see it's quite a long list. So there's the summer 2017 folder with all the various files that are rendered files that are inside of it. Again, not super helpful right now, but we're getting there. Let's just look at one folder in particular before we jump out along much further. Let's just change directories to, let's say, perhaps this 2018 summer folder. So I forget where I'm at, so I'm going to say path of working directory, and it shows me I'm just on the inside the export folder. So I want to change directory to the 06 summer 18, and we'll say ls again, and that's kind of fun. And I didn't do the long command, I just did ls just to get a list of files. And perhaps that's all I'm interested in. Maybe somebody just wants to see that for whatever reason. And I want to send that to them in an email, or maybe pipe it into a spreadsheet or something. So having these files listed in the terminal is kind of useful when you're just hunting and pecking and looking for things, but more often than not, you need it in a separate file by itself. So what you can do with Linux is you can take the output of one command and pipe it is the term. You can take the output of one command can be the input of another command, or in this case we're going to make the output of this command that we just ran ls, and we're going to take the output and pipe it into a file so that we can then email that file or load into a word processor or what have you. So we're going to take ls, and I'm going to say take the output of that file and send it to the desktop, and I'm going to say test.txt. Well, I'm going to say pipe demo.txt. So it'll take all this stuff that we see here and send it into a folder that's a file that's going to land on the desktop. And there it is. So now that is that same information in the terminal in a text file, which we're now looking at with text edit. And this is where it's going to become very helpful for us, because we're going to do a couple of different things. Oh, there's Lee's stuff. There's the files that we're listed in. Some of them we're interested in the EEE files that were created by Professor Harton, but it's mixed in with all these others, so that's not super helpful. But we're getting there. We have a text file that we could do something with. We don't want that one, so I'm going to toss it in the trash. And let's back up here. So I want to change directories, and then the cute little command is just a couple of dots will back me up here. You can think of it as a path of going up and down, or a ladder. So now if I said path of working directory, it shows me that I'm back in that exports area. So back to options. Anytime you're interested in what options might be available for a particular Unix command, you can always read the manual for that option. So built into the system is the manual for every command. So we've used cd and ls. So let's just look at the manual for ls, and I'll hit return. And now there's the instruction manual for ls. And all the different commands that we might be interested in, which can be stacked together, are shown here. And there's that recursive that we use to recursively list the subdirectories that it found, the folders. So it listed, I think the long command is there. There's the lowercase l is the long format. We use that one as well. And there's a variety of them. Some of them are a little bit duplicated, and some of them are redundant to be compatible with previous versions. But by and large, you can get a good idea of how you might use a particular command by reading the man page. I hit quit, Q for quit. It takes me back where I was. And Here. Anytime things get a little bit messy, you can just hit type clear. That's a command, and it just clears my terminal. So I'm good to go there. And I can see the history of what I've been doing by going up and down the arrow key. So that's kind of helpful. But all right, again, forget where I'm at. Path of working directory. I'm right there. So what I want to do is let's try listing that recursive, all of these, and then piping them into a text file and see what that does. So I'm going to say list, and I'm going to also use the long command, and I'm going to stack the recursive command, everything that you see, and I want you to pipe it to what we call pipe demo2.txt file. Oops, I forgot to say where I'm putting it. If I left it right here, it would put the folder, it's going to put that folder right here because I'm inside this exports folder. Remember, path of working directory is this exports folder. And let's just go ahead and hit return and see what happens. Before I was putting it on the desktop, and there's that file right there. Now let's have a look at that. I don't know why I put it out there on the desktop. I don't need that. So let's double click that and have a look at it. Again, pretty messy. Bunch of stuff we don't need, but you're starting to get the idea. I mean, look how big that file is. And it's also look how quickly it got spit out. That was pretty cool. So that's all the renders over the last few years that have landed on that drive. And again, we're trying to find the EEE or the EEE 333s that Harton created. So that's what we're going to try and decipher here. So that still wasn't quite what I wanted because it has a lot more stuff in it that I don't want. So let's back up again. Oh, no. Where am I? Path of working directory. I'm in the exports folder. So let's just list the 07 folder. And there's everything that's there. And I didn't actually go into it. I just listed it from back here, which you can do as well. So what we've done so far is listed a folder and piped it into a text file. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a list and I'm going to pipe it through another Unix command, an OSX command called grep, which is a filtering tool. So I'm going to stack two commands together. I'm going to take the output of one command, send it to another command with some filters on it, and then it'll show me what's happening. So I'm going to say list the 07 folder, which is fall 2018, and hopefully we have some EEE 333 recordings in there. So I'm going to say list all that, and I want you to pipe it. And I've been using the word pipe incorrectly. That's technically the pipe is the vertical vertical bar there. I want you to pipe it to grep, and in grep just search for Harton because he's the instructor that I'm interested in, and he's only records the one course. So show me everything in the exports fall 2018 folder, 07 folder, that happens to be Harton. So let's hit return, see. There's a few there. Okay. Only like hardly any. So he didn't do much work then, but how would I have ever found them? He came in and did some redos in the fall. Most of his work was done in 2017, I believe. So that was pretty cool though, because I could do the same thing. I hit the up arrow, by the way. I hit the up arrow and it repeats that command. I can keep hitting the up arrow and it shows me all the commands I've typed recently, and that's the one I'm interested in. And I'm going to add to that. I'm going to send it. So really that's more output. I've been using the word pipe for that, but that's really more the output. I'm going to go to the desktop and we're going to say pipe grep text. Let's just see what that looks like. So that's those are just the ones that were created in that particular year. You're probably getting an idea if I back up and I do that whole thing. So if again, where am I? I'm in the working directory, so I want to see a list of all of these that are filtered through grep looking for the word hearten. And let's see what that looks like. So I'm just going to get rid. I can't have to use. This is a keyboard-based thing, so I can't just click over there like you normally would. I'm just going to get rid of all this, and we're going to use some of the same commands we've done before. We want to use a -L because I want my finished text file to look a little bit more clean than just a list of these. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. I want to see the year. That's the main thing. The reason I want to put the L command on there, or the L option rather, is that I want to see what years that these were created. So I'm going to say -L, and we've also talked about recursive, and then I'm going to add a couple of other options here that I think will help clean this file up a little bit. So it'll change the bytes to be, with the H, I believe it changes it to be more human readable, like kilobytes and megabytes and things of that sort. And the N will get rid of some extraneous user group information, and the T does it gives me the year, which normally it wouldn't. So we're going to say, and then I got to go down here. If I just left it there, it'd probably overwrite it, but I'll just add a 2 there and see what happens. All right, so there's that file. So this is everything that, let's see, 2017, 2017, 2019. I don't know where the 2018s are. That's kind of odd. There's some 2018s down there. So there's everything we're looking for. That is probably all we need the terminal for this particular task. However, we're going to bring in one more program. We have a very nice text editing tool called BBEdit, which is free and available. And we're going to open this file in BBEdit and do some other housekeeping on it to make it a little bit cleaner and easier to organize. But you know what? I'm going to leave the old one. Before I process that one, I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to call this number 3. So they're going to be exactly the same file, but I'll clean up 3 and I'll leave 2 alone. So we'll get an idea what this looks like. Put this on BBEdit. There's the same file in BBEdit. I want to do a couple of quick bits of housekeeping on here and get this cleaned up. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of all these .lvix files. These are files that were created when I ran some of these folders through the Lightworks editing tool, and it created different versions, like thumbnail versions and stuff, inside those render folders. Those are annoying to me, so I'm going to get rid of those. So I'm going to copy that, and using the text tools of BBEdit, I'm going to process any line that contains the .lvix. So I'm going to type that in there. And what do I want it to do? I want it to delete any line you see that matches those, because those are just duplicates of a reference that I already have. 1-3 redo hearten MP4, and then 1-3 redo hearten MP4 LVX. So I don't need any of the LVXs. Process those. Those should be done. Okay, that's good. Unfortunately, the ls command, it provides a lot of Unix stuff that is really not very useful. The nature of the directory, the user group, and that sort of stuff. So again, for functional purposes, I've got everything I need. But since I'm going to email this to somebody, I want to clean it up a little bit. So we'll just clean out, and this is just a simple search and replace. So I'm going to find all that and replace it with nothing. That one's good. And I got some more Unix garbage in here that we don't need, so we'll copy that. Any of those that it finds, replace all. Same thing here. And we're getting there. So this is the size of the file, the date that it was created, and the name and the MP4. when we're done, I think I'm going to get rid of the MP4 as well, because that's kind of ugly for the purposes of what I'm using it for. Okay, you can see how quick and efficient, even though I'm kind of doing a brute force way, still BBEdit makes it pretty good. So I think that was it. And now, just for housekeeping purposes, I'll say get rid of anything that says .mp4, because that's kind of annoying too. And there we go. We have a list of all the files that were created over the last 3 years for Professor Harton. And the ones that he was interested in were lecture 16. He wanted lecture 16-3. So let's look in that list for 16, lecture 16 looks like lecture -16. Let's see what we got here. We have a 16.1 and a 16.2, and I don't see anything. But maybe there's a 16.3 buried in here somewhere, and I don't know. So what I can also do is copy this. We'll go back to our processing tool, our text processor, process lines that contain lecture 16. And in this case, I don't want to delete them, but I want to add them to a new document. So it's going to scan through here. Anything it sees that has lecture 16, it's going to copy and add to a new document. So there are only those two. That's all it found. Don't know what that is. So you can see the difference. There's the ugly one. There's a nice clean one. So to recap, we used the terminal to process about 150 files that were scattered over how many folders? 9 different folders over the course of 3 years, to find all of the rendered movies that corresponded to the course EEE 333 created by Professor Harton. So now we have a nice clean list that we can email to him and say, this is what we have. I don't see what you're looking for. Probably we never recorded it. And that's it.